Hello, young lady. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. We're doing a documentary on the subject of racial imagery and religion and the psychological effects that racial images might have upon the minds of children. And I'm wondering if you'd be willing to give me a comment.
Certainly.
All right. First, do you understand what I mean when I say racial imagery and religion?
Yes, I do.
Could you just give me how you see racial imagery?
Well, when a person goes into a church, perhaps a Christian church, and I'm not Christian myself, but I've seen this, certainly going into churches for weddings and such. The depiction of Jesus, for example, on the cross is usually someone who has fair skin, has perhaps curly light brown hair, sometimes even blue eyes. People have debated, people I know at least have debated whether that's accurate or not, since if we look at the Bible as a historical text and Jesus as an actual living person from the time when the Bible was actually written, then likely he was from the Middle East. He may have had a darker complexion, may have had brown eyes, different color eyes, green eyes, look a little bit different than how he is portrayed in modern religious imagery.
When you grew up, as a child, had you ever heard anyone, teach or promote the idea that Jesus was God in the flesh?
Certainly, okay. Yes.
So if a child grows up believing that Jesus is God in the flesh, and that same child sees these particular images, what do you think might be the psychological repercussions behind accepting an idea like that?
I think that there are enormous consequences to an image that a child might see, such as that. Something that I recently talked about with my students. I teach the freshmen coming into Southern Illinois University here at Carbondale their English, and I'm doing a unit on gender and sexuality, and we talked about the Barbie doll, how the original Barbie doll was meant to be white and a Caucasian individual, and Mattel, the company, did not bring colored Barbies, Barbies with different skin tone, onto the market until much later. And even then, still, when I asked my students who the student body at Southern Illinois is the most racially diverse university in the country, accepting all black institutions. When I asked my mixed class, black, white students, Asian students, Latino students, when they think of Barbie, when they think of her, what color is she? And they all said white. And we talked about the ramifications that this might have on, for example, a young girl, a child playing with a white Barbie doll. Can she be as beautiful as Barbie if her skin is not white? I think that this idea applies to exactly what you're talking about. How can a person relate to the idea of religion, believe that a person is for them, is supposed to love them, that they are feeling the same love in their hearts for someone who maybe hasn't experienced what they've experienced. Maybe a child was harassed at school for having a different skin color, for having a different kind of nose, for having hands of a different color than somebody else. He says, well, how can Jesus know my trouble? He's white. Or how can he understand the work and suffering of Martin Luther King Jr., for example? These are just some ideas I'm throwing out, but certainly I think it has an effect.
Yes. Yeah. So, as an educator, would you promote a social movement that call for the removal of any types of human imagery used to depict God? Would you support an idea like that?
I think that. Go ahead.
Or would you, if you wanted to take an in-between position on that, what would your position be?
I could understand the desire to do that for the reasons that I just stated. For the reason to have a place of worship, for example, in which a flesh human avatar of Jesus was not present, in which maybe we just had a cross or other religious symbolism present. On the other hand, I understand that people want to relate to people. Also, there are many famous renderings of Christ in painting and statue form that were done by accomplished artists trying to express a feeling they might have had about religion that was very profound and very important to them. I wouldn't want to suggest that a movement like that would invalidate those people's religious feelings of passion and love. Even if those images were for them something that they said, okay, my Jesus is white, my Jesus had brown eyes, my Jesus was blonde, or my God was this color. So perhaps it's something that needs to be taken personally, and that perhaps, and I'm always saying things like this, parents, family members, peers need to have discussions with each other. You know, parents need to talk to their children and say, now, son, daughter, just because Jesus looks like this up there doesn't mean that he really look that way, that he has to look that way for you. It's more the relationship you have with this figure. It's more the way that you express the ideas of religion in your life, how you incorporate it, that should really matter to you. And if people talked about these things more, I think it would not get so cut and dry in terms of, well, this is exactly how it is.
Great answer. If a large segment of psychiatrists and psychologists, etc., those who are into the mental health professions, if they came to a conclusion after research and they found out that the worship of human imagery caused severe mental illnesses to develop, over time in the minds of children, how would you feel about taking those images down at that point?
Well, I'd have to personally take a look at the studies to see exactly how those were conducted and see what sort of mental effects they were talking about. Only because, as an intelligent human being, I think everybody needs to question the information they hear, only that. And then if that were the case, then certainly I would consider more strongly practical steps that need to be taken to do that. Yeah.
That's a great answer. So I want to thank you very, very much for your interview, and it's been very enlightening.
Well, thank you.
And I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.